There are times when a mother's single admission rewrites everything we believed we understood. For years, Abby and Brittany Hensel's story lived in admiration, mystery, and a carefully guarded privacy they fought to maintain. Yet, as their mother Patty revealed, a rumor whispered for years in the shadows wasn't simply gossip at all. It became a truth that split their family in ways few could ever imagine. And what she finally acknowledged has reshaped how the world views the sisters who spent their lives shielding their personal world. That moment revealed what happened and why everything shifted, a rumor that refused to fade. For a long time, the internet toyed with the idea that one of the Hensel twins had quietly married. It began as an offhand online whisper, a joke to some, and an impossibility to others. Abby and Brittany, two different people sharing one body, spent their entire lives challenging what others assumed they couldn't do. But nothing fueled more speculation, fascination, or disbelief than the idea of one of them marrying. The internet kept returning to the same invasive question: if one falls in love, where does that leave the other? The rumors intensified in 2021. Posts appeared, blurry screenshots circulated, and supposed sightings spread, though no one ever had proof and the family stayed silent as always. Abby and Brittany never allowed outsiders to decide what parts of their lives were open to the public. Then, in 2024, something shifted. A single social media photo, posted casually by a man named Joshua Bowling, sent shockwaves across the internet. Joshua, a U.S. Army veteran and nurse, had shared a picture the world had never seen, a wedding portrait. And he wasn't standing alone. Abby was beside him in a wedding dress, smiling, with Brittany right next to her, as she always was. It didn't take long for people to recognize the truth. Abby had quietly married in 2021. Overnight, the world demanded explanations. Explanations the twins had never planned to give. But the person who finally confirmed everything was someone no one expected. Their mother, Patty, stated that the rumors circulating for years had been real. Abby had married, and the secrecy surrounding it had stirred a storm within their family. A storm that pushed the twins further from their mother than she ever anticipated. A mother's confession and a strained bond. When Patty eventually acknowledged Abby's marriage, it wasn't the triumphant reveal the internet imagined. Instead, it was an admission layered with regret and a quiet understanding that something inside their family had cracked long before the world knew. She admitted she had known from the beginning. She was, after all, their mother. But Abby and Brittany's decision to keep it entirely private, even from certain relatives who felt entitled to answers, created tensions that slowly deepened over the years. And once the rumor erupted publicly, everything changed. Patty faced questions from producers, journalists, neighbors, and strangers, all asking if the marriage was real. For years, she dodged, denied, or stayed silent. But silence has limits. Eventually, she confirmed the truth. Not to betray her daughters, she said, but because she couldn't continue lying. The world saw her statement as simple clarification. But to Abby and Brittany, it felt different. It felt like a line crossed, a promise broken. People close to the family say the twins were deeply shaken by their mother's choice. It wasn't that she admitted the marriage existed, the world already suspected. It was the fact she spoke publicly at all. Abby and Brittany built their entire adulthood around strict privacy, choosing every detail that left their home. They grew up under cameras, documentaries, and endless invasive questions about their bodies, their autonomy, and their futures. As adults, they swore never to let anyone else tell their story again. So when their mother confirmed the rumor, even subtly, the twins felt exposed in a way they couldn't tolerate. With that exposure came anger, sorrow, and a painful silence between them and Patty. Outsiders saw headlines and gossip. But behind those headlines stood a mother crying alone in her kitchen, wondering how one sentence could distance her from her daughters. And two sisters who believed protecting their lives meant protecting them even from someone they loved. The marriage that reshaped their world. To understand why Abby's marriage sent emotional shockwaves through their lives, you have to know how the twins lived long before Joshua entered the picture. Abby and Brittany always insisted on their individuality. Since childhood, they corrected anyone who treated them as a single person. Abby drawn to sparkles and bright pink, Brittany preferring hats, muted colors, and a calmer style. Their personalities diverged as clearly as their interests, and their parents supported those differences. But marriage was something entirely different. Taking the step into marriage was profoundly intimate, touching on questions people had whispered about for years, yet never fully grasped. Issues of identity, autonomy, personal boundaries, and what partnership means when a body is shared were always present. So when Abby and Joshua quietly wed in 2021, it wasn't done to provoke anyone, nor was it an act of rebellion. It was simply a moment they chose for themselves. A piece of joy that belonged solely to them. Not to cameras, not to curious onlookers, not even to relatives who behaved as though updates were a right. What many overlooked was that Brittany backed Abby from the very start. She supported every conversation, every choice, every challenging discussion. And when the ceremony took place, she didn't stand on the sidelines. Instead, she became part of the experience, remaining beside her sister, just as she always had. People on the outside couldn't grasp this, but inside their world, it fit naturally. Their bond had always run on a level of mutual respect most siblings never reach. That connection didn't shift simply because one of them entered a marriage. Joshua's arrival introduced a new dimension to their everyday life. He approached them without fascination or fixation on their physical uniqueness. Instead, he formed a connection with Abby as an individual, not as a medical anomaly. And to the surprise of many, his respect extended fully to Brittany as well. He recognized that loving Abby required accepting a bond that could never be undone. Rather than resisting that truth, he welcomed it. Yet their relationship challenged the public's expectations at every turn. People questioned nearly everything. Some from ignorance, some from confusion, and some from an unhealthy interest in matters that weren't theirs to probe. Abby and Brittany learned to tune out that noise over the years. But what they couldn't ignore was what unfolded inside their own home. As pressure surrounding the marriage increased, the distance between the twins and their mother became heavier than any rumor the internet spread, making normal life feel suffocating under constant scrutiny. Long before Abby's marriage became fuel for public debate, the Hensel twins had already spent decades under relentless observation. From their earliest appearance on national television, the world developed a fixation on them. Sometimes that attention was kind, sometimes harsh, but always persistent. Their parents worked hard to shield them, trying to give them a childhood that felt as close to ordinary as possible. They provided separate clothes, encouraged separate interests, and nurtured separate identities, even as the girls navigated life together. As the twins grew older, public curiosity only intensified. People stared in stores, whispered behind their backs, or posed questions no child should face. Yet the twins handled it with steady determination. They learned to walk, swim, and play sports, feats that required extraordinary cooperation, since each sister controls one half of their shared body. While most children learn coordination naturally, the twins built theirs through trust, negotiation, and a silent rhythm only they shared.
School brought its own challenges, as attention followed them down every corridor. Even so, they devoted themselves to learning, figuring out how to take notes, contribute in class, and succeed on their own terms. By 2012, they graduated with degrees in education from Bethel University. Their achievement once again proved that society's assumptions never defined their path. They pursued teaching because they wanted children to understand that difference isn't frightening. It's simply part of what makes people human. Fourth and fifth graders naturally ask questions, and the twins never criticized them for their curiosity. They answered what they felt comfortable sharing and protected what they chose to keep private. Their classrooms became places where empathy grew naturally through their example rather than through lectures. Even as educators, though, the attention didn't fade. Every milestone, degrees, new positions, interviews, ignited fresh waves of fascination. And once Abby married Joshua, that fascination turned into interrogation. People demanded explanations, acting as if the twins owed society a detailed manual of their personal choices. When a TV crew member told their mother, "You owe the world more of an explanation," Brittany responded with clarity, "I don't owe the world anything." And she added that Abby didn't owe them either. It wasn't a statement born from anger, but from exhaustion. They were finished being treated like public property, though not everyone in their lives respected that line, and the fallout from crossing it was impossible to ignore.
To understand why Abby and Brittany guard their privacy so intensely, it helps to recognize the environment they entered at birth. They arrived in a world where rare twins, especially conjoined twins, are often seen as medical curiosities before being seen as people. Long before television shows, classrooms, or Abby's marriage, society's fascination with twins who defied expectations had existed for centuries. Doctors, researchers, and journalists frequently viewed such cases as opportunities for study rather than individuals deserving protection. From an early age, Abby and Brittany recognized this truth, and they realized that many twin narratives before theirs, stories of mirror twins, parasitic twins, semi-identical twins, even chimeras, had been exaggerated, misread, or mistreated, ending in outcomes they wanted to avoid. Across history, accounts appeared of mirror twins whose bodies opposed each other like flipped images, parasitic twins where one grew at another's expense, semi-identical twins recorded only twice, and rare cases involving internal fetuses or twins with different fathers or birthplaces. Stories that intrigued the public but weighed heavily on the families who endured them. For conjoined twins in particular, the spotlight was always unforgiving. From Chang and Ang Bunker to the Hiltons, the McCoy sisters, the Gallion brothers, and many others whose lives were framed as spectacles instead of human experiences, leaving them with little ability to draw their own boundaries. Instead of authoring their own lives, most had their stories crafted for them. And Abby and Brittany understood that unless they took firm control, the world would twist their narrative the moment it could. So when Abby married Joshua, that fear became real, as the internet offered no celebration, only dissection, questions, and cold analysis of what should have been a private joy. Rather than seeing two adult women making their own choices, people argued over details, mechanics, and morality, forgetting that unusual circumstances do not diminish genuine emotion. This kind of attention, the constant scrutiny, the lingering curiosity, and the invasive speculation was exactly why they needed privacy more than ever, and exactly why their mother's confirmation felt like a painful blow. And yet, the story did not settle there, because the moment the truth about Abby's marriage became public, everything surrounding the twins grew more tangled. In the aftermath, everyone demanded to know what was next, questions that spilled across social media, talk shows, and forums, driven by fascination, cruelty, or entitlement. But the twins responded to none of it, choosing silence, not because of shame or fear, but because they had learned how easily the world assumes rights it never had. Behind closed doors, the emotional cost was invisible, even as Abby and Brittany continued with their careers and their private life with Joshua, while the distance from their mother quietly remained. Patty had spent years defending their autonomy, protecting their individuality, and guarding them from the world. But one moment of public honesty broke something delicate, leaving the twins feeling her protection had slipped. It wasn't dramatic betrayal or anger. It was a quiet hurt, the sense that the one person who promised to respect their privacy had faltered, and repairing that trust would not be quick. For the first time, Abby and Brittany created emotional space, not from outsiders or media, but from their own mother, marking a shift neither of them had ever imagined. Throughout it all, they kept teaching, motivating students, and shaping a life built on unity and resilience, earning admiration from students, respect from colleagues, and steady support from Joshua, even in the loudest criticism. Yet beneath the surface of success, strength, and composure, a truth lingered. Even the closest families can crack under relentless public pressure. As the future unfolds, Abby and Brittany face uncertainties, new limits, new challenges, and perhaps new relationships. But their unwavering connection to each other remains the constant thread. Through rumors, headlines, and difficult revelations, they continue moving through life side by side, both physically and emotionally, proving that unity can endure what nearly breaks it. Their story is layered, human, and far more complex than what the internet chooses to show, revealing lives shaped by love, difficulty, and persistence. Their mother's admission opened a door they never wished opened, leaving lasting ripples in their family, even as they push forward on their own. And through it all, Abby and Brittany keep choosing privacy, agency, and each other, preserving the life they value despite everything around them.